Welcome back to Adobe Photoshop CC. In this tutorial, we're going to explore the Bevel Emboss features of the layer styles and see how we can create text that appears to come forward and one that basically recesses. So I have here this texture from cgtextures.com. Great open source site. You can download tons of free textures. All you gotta do is sign up, again, with email, and pretty much you're good to go. So they do have a paid feature, but realize there's tons of really cool textures for free. So I typed out Adobe Photoshop here, and what we're going to do is we're going to apply some styles to this text. So I'm going to select the Adobe text first and just double click in the gray part to bring up your layer styles. And I'm going to move it over just a little bit here. And what I'm going to do is click on the word Bevel Emboss. Once I do that, you can see the Bevel Emboss here. Now, what I'm going to do is cancel out for a sec. The first thing I want to do before I add style effects is I'm going to drop the fill here. Now, I'm probably going to drop this to 0% eventually, but I'm going to drop it down around, I don't know, 30 some odd percent. So remember, the difference between opacity and fill is opacity affects the entire layer, where fill affects all the attributes of the layer but not layer effects, so style effects. So let's double click on it again and bring up the Bevel Emboss. Again, click on the word Bevel Emboss to bring up all the features here. And let's go ahead and reset to default. Click on this guy so you can basically work with me here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit Control plus to zoom in a couple of times, and or Command plus on a Mac, and basically look at this text a little bit closer, maybe not quite that close. There we go. And so what I want to do here is first decide what kind of bevel. So there's all kinds of bevels here. There's an inner bevel, outer bevel here. There's an emboss, this is what the one we want to use, but there's a pillow emboss, which gives this kind of inside sort of quality. And then the stroke emboss, which really doesn't show anything right now for the particular effect. But let's choose emboss here. Now there's some options here under technique. You can choose smooth, chisel hard, or chisel soft. I'm going to choose the soft, actually, a smooth. I think it looks really good here. And then the depth, we're going to leave it 100%, but direction, we're going to go up. You can see down kind of gives that feeling of in-size sort of text, which we're going to do here. So we're going to choose up for the direction. And then we can crank out the size here, adjust it however much you want. I'm going to leave about 8, and then you can soften the edges if you want. I'm going to leave it at 1 there. The main thing that changed here is the angle and the altitude, which is the global light. So I click up here. The angle basically represents the light source. So imagine a light from above dropping down, casting shadows. And so you can click in this little circle here and adjust that. The altitude is basically how the light is around in terms of, you know, the face here. So if we have a 0 value here, it would essentially be light directly from above, so which we don't want. So if we have an angle of like 33, you could see here, or 30 degrees, you'll see a little bit more light sort of shining through. I may say this is something like 45, just to give you a little bit more emphasis here, and then 90 for the angle here. But you can basically click and drag and affect both these values just by adjusting here. So yeah. And then the contour is basically how the light and shadow react. It's easier to see this when we adjust the light and the shadow here. So basically the opacity here, I'm going to leave at 50% right now, but let's click in here instead of screen, choose linear dodge add, which will give us a little bit brighter highlights, which I like there. And I'm going to leave it at white, but the multiply mode, I'm going to click in here and not choose just pure black. I'm going to pick some dark in the scene here, so maybe this dark shadow here. Click OK. And then I'm going to crank that up a little bit, and then I'm going to choose the darker mode, which is color burn or linear burn. Linear burn looks pretty good there. Let's try color burn here. A little bit softer. I kind of like the softer quality of color burn, but I think I am going to go with linear burn here. Yeah, and basically crank that up however much I want, or reduce it to whatever I want. I think around 60% looks pretty good here. Has a nice pop to it. And what we're going to do here is we're going to adjust now, we can adjust the contour. So if I click in here, you'll see as I click this, you'll see how the light and the shadow adjusts based upon these little guys here. And so you can try out each one of these and see how they look on here. And some of them are really goofy, but some are kind of fun to play around with. Yeah, so you can click on each of these and try them out. I think actually the bumpy one looks kind of cool, but actually I think I'm just going to grab this one here. Now you can also, if you double click in here, you can actually adjust this individually on your own. So you can create your own sort of curve. So basically what this is the dark here, and this is the light. So I can bring down the light, and there's sort of a transition here between the two. So I may want to adjust this a little bit just to have a little bit of a curve action here. It's nice to have a little bit of a curve. To have a little bit of transition here, something like that maybe. Click OK. You can also adjust the contour in here, which will represent the actual bevel itself. So you'll see here all the different effects that happen as you click through these. And it's subtle, but I kind of like the curve one again here. So I'm going to keep that one. The next thing I want to adjust is you could apply a texture here, but I don't really want to apply a texture because it has the wall here. The whole idea is to have it poofed out a little bit. So what I'm going to add next is a drop shadow. So I'm clicking on the word again. Set this to multiply is fine. I'm going to go ahead and click reset to default so that we have the same settings here, and basically crank up the opacity there a little bit. I'm going to leave the global light set to where it was, but I'm going to adjust the distance a little bit, and let's see the spread a little bit, and even the size maybe a tiny bit. So I'm just kind of eyeballing it here to kind of see how I like it. And then the next thing I might want to adjust is choose a color overlay. So you can click in here and click reset to default, and then you can click in here and choose whatever color you want. So if you find a nice dark gray or something from your scene, you can have that as a color overlay, and then you can experiment with different blend modes. I think the overlay looks kind of cool here. I'm going to go back to the Bevel Emboss. I think this shadow is just a little bit strong, so I'm going to reduce the opacity of that, and maybe even try a different blend mode. I think that I think I like it darker, but it's just a little bit too strong there. So I might adjust that. I think having nice strong light's good, but the dark here, maybe to reduce it just a little bit. I don't know, let's see here. Again, this is all sort of preferential kind of stuff. You can really spend a lot of time kind of playing with these. Like if I switch to color mode, look how much lighter it is here. Kind of like the lighter effect actually. So I'm going to drop the opacity a little bit so it's more of a tint effect of that color, and then click OK. So if I zoom out here, you can see how that really sort of pops out now. Now I may want to also adjust the lighting on that Bevel Emboss, the direction here. That might be the other thing. I might want to adjust it to get a cooler angle. I kind of like coming from the right a little bit more. And again, all those little things you can kind of adjust on the fly. Maybe have a stronger drop shadow. By having the more distance here, it just makes these pop out a little bit more. But I don't want the spread to be quite as strong, so maybe tighten them up a little bit. Maybe like 1 or 2 or 3. And then the size. And basically, if you reduce this, you get a sharper shadow. So I may want to have around 3. I kind of like that. And click OK. I think I really dig this. This looks good to me. The Adobe really pops now. So in the next tutorial, we'll cover the Photoshop, but that's one side. I don't want this tutorial to take too long. So we'll also add another Bevel Emboss. So we'll see you soon in Adobe Photoshop CC. Cheers.